We're kicking off with Smackdown as the Bloodline walked into the show with everything changed now that Roman Reigns no longer rules the blue brand following his WrestleMania loss to Cody Rhodes. With Reigns AWOL, it was Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman who appeared in the ring last night after learning that Reigns' locker room had been taken over by the new champion. Heyman began by reflecting on how Reigns' hatred and obsession with Seth Rollins distracted the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania, which allowed for Cody to capitalize and win the title. The wise man was interrupted by Sikoa, who declared that losing had its own consequences and spoke of a change to the bloodline before pointing towards Jimmy Uso. Jimmy was blamed for failing to protect Reigns' title run, and Solo hugged his brother before a hooded individual attacked Uso, adding a new member to the bloodline. This was revealed to be another Anoa'i family member, Tama Tonga, the son of WWE legend Haku, and he and Solo assaulted Jimmy despite the pleas of Heyman. Solo nearly knocked down the wise man, but did not at the last moment, and in the end, he and Tonga left Jimmy laid to waste with a steel chair combo in the corner of the ring. Sikoa stopped Heyman from calling Reigns as well, and then headed to the back with him and Tama Tonga, but things were not done for the bloodline for the night. Backstage, Heyman was interviewed about what had just happened in the bloodline, but was stopped by Tonga, who said he was acting by orders of the Tribal Chief. The Tribal Chief he was referring to was Solo Sikoa, not Roman Reigns, as the Enforcer is now ready to take charge of the faction in the absence of the former Universal Champion. This will almost certainly mean that Reigns and Sikoa will feud for control when Roman is back, meaning fans can expect a face turn from Reigns whenever he returns to TV. A face turn doesn't mean that Roman will be the character he was before 2020, as WWE has done a great job evolving his character in recent years, and fans can expect that to continue. Following the attack, Tonga made it clear that he was part of the bloodline, and Fightful reports that there could be another member of the family joining this new bloodline. It's stated that there have been plans for Tonga and Jacob Fatu to be aligned, and with Tonga now in the group, don't be surprised if Solo brings in the ex-MLW champion as well. Tonga is now part of WWE, and his debut had been expected over the last few months, and as far as AEW is concerned, it was said that Tonga joining WWE was a foregone conclusion. Following his debut on Smackdown, it is clear that Tama Tonga is not in WWE to start from the beginning in NXT, but has instead joined the most dominant faction to kick off his career. This is a strong start for Tonga, who now has a lot of eyes on his development. And what did you make of his debut this week? Let us know down in the comments. More from Smackdown as undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes opened the show and was welcomed to a standing ovation and a chant of "You deserve it." For his promo, Cody reflected back on the confrontation with The Rock on Raw this week and vowed to deal with him once he returns to WWE after his hiatus is over. The champion then turned his attention towards his potential #1 contender for WWE's upcoming Backlash France event and said a challenger would be decided very soon. Addressing each of his potential challengers separately, Rhodes proclaimed that he was ready to welcome them all and made clear that he's no longer the hunter, but is now the hunted. Moreover, he clearly stated that he has evolved from the undesirable to the undeniable and the leader of the new WWE era that has dawned upon them in a solid promo from Rhodes. The American Nightmare kept his promo on SmackDown pretty PG, despite in recent weeks being more likely to bend the rules of WWE TV in his feud with the Bloodline. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was said that some top stars have been granted more leeway in their promos, in another sign of a change from the norm. Dave Meltzer adds, "We were told that everything is up in the air as far as going forward, as there is a recognition that going farther in this direction will draw a younger audience as it did 25 years ago, but they also want to not be in a position where sponsors are squeamish, so it's a balancing act. But if Rock doesn't have 100% carte blanche to do what he wants, he at least has close to that." Ahead of SmackDown, Nick Aldis announced 2 triple threat matches, with the winners set to face off on next week's SmackDown, and the winner of that match facing Rhodes at Backlash. Rhodes wasn't done just yet at SmackDown though, as the American Nightmare had his very first title defense once the show went off the air. In a rematch from Money in the Bank 2023, Rhodes defeated Dirty Dominic Mysterio, and unsurprisingly, Rhodes had the entire crowd on his side. Rhodes was also announced as the undisputed WWE champion, as WWE seems to be dropping the universal part of the name of the title the American Nightmare now carries. Cody winning this match was never in serious doubt, as the new champion continues to lead the charge in this new era of WWE. In the first of two triple threat matches, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, and Bobby Lashley faced off for a spot in next week's #1 Contenders match. B-Fab and the Street Profits were with Lashley on the stage, but didn't accompany him to the ring, and similarly, Escobar also left Legado del Fantasma behind for the match. Escobar was the only one here who did not win at WrestleMania, so he came into this looking to reverse his fortunes, while Knight and Lashley wanted to continue their winning ways. This was a mix of three very different styles, with Lashley being the powerhouse, Escobar the technical high flyer, and Knight being a jack-of-all-trade kind of entertainer. Together, the three mixed well to give this match a little bit of everything, and thanks to the rules of the triple threat, Angel and Berto interfered to aid Escobar. The Street Profits ran down to fight them while B-Fab went after Elektra Lopez, and amid the chaos, LA Knight hit the BFT on Santos to secure the win and advance to next week. This was a fun, energetic opening match, and even all the interference didn't do much to take away from it because it was kind of expected due to the rules of the match. Our second triple threat saw Rey Mysterio, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles, and Owens would break the fourth wall by requesting the camera follow him all the way to the ring. With a Detroit Tigers championship belt, Owens cut a promo before making his entrance, and this was the better of the two triple threat matches we saw on Smackdown. The match received "This is Awesome" chants, and that was before a monkey flip into a Hurricane Rana, and Rey then took a stunner on the apron and sold it fantastically. Styles tried to go after both men, but they ended up teaming up on him until he was out of the ring, and the three former world champions did not waste time, making this a fast-paced affair. This was the best thing we saw all night, but looking at who was involved, that shouldn't surprise anyone, and in the end, it was Styles who got the win to advance. The Phenomenal One got a phenomenal win by hitting a Super Styles Clash with Mysterio onto Owens and perfectly rolling him into a pin in another highlight of the match. For any WWE trivia nuts, this match marked the third triple threat in a row that Rey Mysterio has been in which he lost to Styles, and all three were for a World Championship opportunity. The excitement didn't stop there, as after SmackDown, Styles and LA Knight confronted one another in the ring, and Knight was ready to throw down with his upcoming opponent. The pair had to be separated by referees, such as their disdain for each other, and this will all make for an excellent showdown next week with much higher stakes. What came next was the first dark match of the night, which saw Solo Sikoa look to assert his dominance as the Bloodline's new tribal chief in a match with Jey Uso. In our second brother versus brother match over the past week, Solo dominated much of the match and even taunted the fans by breaking out Jey's YEET taunt. In the end though, it was Jey who once again got the win in another setback for the Bloodline on what was a groundbreaking night for the faction. This was a stacked show, and next week we'll see AJ Styles versus LA Knight, and either man will prove to be game competition for the undisputed WWE champion next month at Backlash. CM Punk news now, as fans got the chance to see Punk at WrestleMania, Raw, and AEW Dynamite this week, and the best in the world wasn't done just yet. During this week's SmackDown, Punk was working yet again, but instead of the blue brand, he was a commentator at an event for Cage Fury Fighting Championship. Punk had appeared for CFFC before his WWE return and is clearly being allowed to continue the role, another sign that this is a different WWE than it was before. Punk didn't attack anyone at the CFFC event, unlike what he did to Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, as the Chicago-made star continues to make waves in and out of WWE. Last night, New Japan Pro Wrestling hosted its Windy City Riot event in Chicago, Illinois, and Jack Perry had a special message for those in attendance. For his entrance ahead of his match with Shota Umino, Perry held up the flag of Chicago before revealing the message on the back of his jacket, "Cry Me a River." This is, of course, a nod to his comment at AEW All In that led to the backstage fight with CM Punk that fans got to see during this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. This may not sit well with Tony Khan, who was the one who chose to release the footage, but since then, AEW has been flagging any Twitter accounts showing the footage in question. Tony Khan may be regretting airing the footage, but fans continue to be reminded about All In, and we'll have to see how this all plays into Perry's return to AEW, whenever that happens. But what do you think of Perry's entrance at Windy City Riot, and do you think AEW should have aired the footage in the first place? Let us know in the comments section below. Back to SmackDown, as during the show there was another subtle tease of something coming, which is believed to be the return of Uncle Howdy, aka Bo Dallas. WWE played the haunting music of Marty Amato's Nightbird at the event in Detroit, and at one portion of the evening, the Titantron was in black and white as if it was played on an old TV. That wasn't the only interesting aspect of SmackDown, as during the broadcast itself, fans saw another glitch for a split second, this time with the message, "You forgot about us." The "us" certainly suggests that Bo may not be returning to WWE alone, and some have speculated that Alexa Bliss's Dark Alexa character could be returning to programming. This follows on from a glitch on Raw that is also being attributed to the return of Dallas, and saw the message "Hello" appear during a promo from Big Bronson Reed. WWE incorporated similar discreet, subtle messages in the run-up to Bray Wyatt's return to WWE in October 2022, and the White Rabbit idea was praised for its ingenuity. It's possible that WWE is bringing back the Uncle Howdy character in a different form, and it'll be interesting to see plans for Alexa Bliss, who's been out due to a pregnancy and is now a mom. Whether the return that is being teased is with Uncle Howdy or not is yet to be seen, but either way, interesting things are coming. More from Windy City Riot now, as Jon Moxley was at the Chicago event, and in the main event, defeated Tetsuya Naito to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. This win is historic for multiple reasons, as Moxley is the first American to have won the title that was launched in March 2021 to replace the IWGP World title. Not only that, but Moxley is the first man to have completed a global Triple Crown, having won the World Championships of New Japan, All Elite Wrestling, and WWE. Now Moxley will have to divide his time between AEW and New Japan, and expect a huge role for him when the two companies collide for Forbidden Door 3 later this year. During this week's WWE NXT, Javon Evans, formerly Jay Malachi, defeated Scripps in an excellent match that bodes well for the debuting 19-year-old superstar. While Evans' work received praise, one troll named Kevin Scampoli made horrific comments on his podcast, and taking to Twitter, said that the young black superstar is a, quote, slave. Several names from wrestling fired back at the disgusting comment, with TNA's Moose saying he'll slap piss out of Scampoli, who responded with a thinly veiled threat to Giselle Shaw. NXT's Luca Crucifino described Scampoli as a piece of shit, while referee Daphne LaShawn said that the comment was disgusting and that Scampoli will never see happiness. In the past, Scampoli has mocked Kayla Braxton for being conceived while her mother was raped, and joked with Sammy Guevara about wanting to rape Mercedes Moné. Guevara would apologize and learn from that controversy, while Scampoli can only get noticed by saying something awful, and once again, his disgusting comments have garnered notoriety. At WrestleMania 40, The Undertaker appeared during the Night 2 main event to confront The Rock, and while it was good to see the Phenom, fans were expecting somebody else. Given the historic feud between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, fans were expecting to see the Texas Rattlesnake, and that was once the plan for Philadelphia. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's noted that WWE was in talks to involve Austin in some capacity during WrestleMania 40 weekend, and he was supposed to be in Undertaker's spot. The two sides unfortunately couldn't come to terms over money, meaning that the Phenom was brought in to fill the hole left by Austin's absence. While Austin and Undertaker did feud in the Attitude Era, The Rock and Austin had more memorable collisions, and do you wish it had been Austin who confronted the final boss? In singles action on SmackDown, Bron Breakker earned a one-sided victory over Cameron Grimes and got the win with a few clotheslines and a spear. It almost feels like WWE expects most of the audience to be unfamiliar with the two-time former NXT champion and is debuting him like it would any new star for the first time. Bayley came out to a great ovation, looking as happy as ever to be the women's champion again, as chants of "You Deserve It" rang out as her music came to an end. The new WWE Women's Champion put over the locker room and the fans for supporting her in her career, and wanted to give somebody else a huge opportunity. Tiffany Stratton arrived to answer the call, but Bayley clarified that she wasn't offering an open challenge, but wanted to handpick Naomi as her first challenger instead. Naomi said she wanted to take on Tiffany before accepting Bayley's challenge, and the match got going after a commercial break and a segment in which Kayla Braxton tried to get an update on Jimmy Uso. That means the match technically got started during the break, so we returned mid-match, and Bayley stayed at ringside to cheer on Naomi, but ended up seeing Tiffy dominate the bulk. This bout lasted through another break and eventually saw Naomi make a comeback and get the win, giving the Glow the momentum in her upcoming title match with Bayley as her challenger. The match was fine, but seeing the crowd give Bayley such a warm reception was the best part. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were at Smackdown, and Green was still mad as hell that she didn't make it onto the WrestleMania 40 card. On Raw, Adam Pearce listened to Green's complaining and gave her a huge spotlight match, which, unfortunately for Chelsea, was against Jade Cargill, who got a dominant win. On SmackDown, Green and Niven aired their grievances to GM Nick Aldis, who gave the pair a tag match, and to their surprise, their opponents were Bianca Belair and The Storm. In the closing moments, Cargill and Green were the legal women, and Jade put the Canadian away once again in the ex-AEW star's 4th official match for WWE. Outside the Royal Rumble, Jade is 3-0 in WWE, and Chelsea Green should probably think before she speaks to either the GM of Raw or SmackDown, or face another run-in with The Storm. At NXT Stand and Deliver, Giulia appeared in the crowd in the biggest sign to date that she's going to join WWE, and now she's wrapped up her time with Stardom. In her last Stardom match, Giulia teamed with her longtime partner Sayuri to reach a 20-minute time limit draw with Hanan and IWGP Women's Champion Mayu Iwatani. After the match, Giulia addressed the Stardom audience and showed gratitude for their support during her 4-year tenure and was proud to have competed for them. Teasing what's to come, Giulia said that she'll continue to aim even higher, but stopped short of mentioning WWE by name or her Stand and Deliver appearance. Big things are expected for Giulia in WWE, but she's expected to work for Rossy Agawa's new promotion first. And how do you think she'll fare in WWE? Let us know in the comments below. During AEW World's End last year, Miro defeated Andrade El Idolo in a singles match after CJ Perry betrayed the Mexican superstar, but the Bulgarian has been absent ever since. Tony Khan said on the AEW Revolution media call that he had planned for Miro and Keith Lee to be part of the Meat Madness match at Revolution, but scrapped it as they were unavailable. Now, Miro has shared an update on his AEW status as he told WrestleBinge that he's been dealing with a shoulder injury and elbow injury, both of which he suffered late last year. Miro underwent treatment and received multiple shots for his injuries in late January, and he vowed on coming back stronger than ever after recovering and rehabbing. Miro added that he's undergone a painful dental procedure during his AEW hiatus as well, and this is all happening amid his real-life separation with Perry. Only time will tell when the Bulgarian Brute will be able to make his triumphant return to AEW television, but Miro vows to be better than ever once he's back in the ring. During this week's Raw, a teaser for the return of Sheamus was aired, and fans learned much more about his imminent comeback in a new teaser that aired on SmackDown. It was confirmed that Sheamus will make his return on next week's Raw from Montreal, and we'll have to see what the former world champion has in store once he's back in the ring. This week, Dan Ventrell parted ways with WWE after 2 years with the company in which he had served as the head of talent relations, replacing John Laurinaitis in the role. Ventrell ultimately answered to Triple H, who oversees talent as WWE's chief content officer, and many on the roster are happy to see the back of Ventrell. Fightful Select reports that Ventrell was far from liked by talent on a professional level, with many blaming him as a reason why many deals have nearly reached their expiration date. Ventrell was actively discussing several new deals, but several within the industry didn't feel as if he was an appropriate fit in the position he was in when it came to negotiating with talent. While a replacement for Dan is yet to be named, Triple H and Shawn Michaels remain firmly in charge of talent and development as the new era moves forward without Ventrell around.